Okay, it's recording. Alright, so the first thing we got to do is you hit maintenance, and then...
Once it reaches maintenance, I'm going to cancel it and we can record from the step one.
Okay, and you need to reach what temperature?
55 is
55?
where, yeah, about 55, where it will show head and table maintenance on the screen.
Okay. Alright, go ahead from the beginning.
Alright, yeah. Once you powered the machine, basically to test which cassette might have failed, because the problem we are seeing here is that model material stopped purging either during a modeling process or when the cassette was reloaded. These are the two instances that may cause it not to purge. Usually when we see model material fail, we take a look at the previous builds. Sometimes if we have soluble support cassette fail, we may see what's called warping away from the tray. If the part warps away from the base, the plastic base, I think this base. Like, let's say this is the part you're printing. If it warps away from the base, it usually raises a geometry higher. So when the geometry is raised, the head, it's working on the flat surface, so it comes back to the part and actually tries to print over this area, and that actually can cause that force on the bottom of the tip basically plugs it, and there's a force on the inside of the head which can break the material inside. Otherwise, on the rare occasions, we would have a failed cartridge that the string would get caught inside of the cassette. That would cause a head clog. So today we're going to try to determine what happened. To do that, we're going to put the machine in maintenance and actually open up the head to see if the material broke, if it missed the nozzle. In order to troubleshoot that, you would power on the machine and hit maintenance, and then machine.
Okay.
The table's going to move down, and the head is going to move towards you. Sometimes, especially when you just power on the unit, you may see the head move and hit all the end of travel switches. Now what you're going to need is a Phillips screwdriver. Basically open the door, and can you see this, those silver screws in the back?
Yeah.
Yeah, these two screws are quarter turn. So you quarter turn, and then you can swing and open the head.
Okay.
Sometimes this soluble support material may break off when you're opening the head, but that's okay. We can, at the end, we're going to reload material and see how that works. So basically, if you look close here, we have soluble support motor and material, and we have model material right here. But I see there is no model coming into the head. We probably didn't, or someone didn't probably load it all the way into the head. So what we need to do is first back out this material, the soluble support material. Actually, I'm going to close it for just a second. Because in order to back out material, we need to close the door and place the head into head maintenance mode.
Okay.
By pressing head on the display, we're going to heat up the nozzles, and we'll be able to run the servo mechanism inside.
Okay.
We'll be able to back out that soluble support material. See the temperatures on the display? It's going to reach 280 degrees. I believe it's 270 for model, 280 degrees Celsius for support. And once those temperatures are reached, we're going to have two options, forward and reverse. Which basically means that we can drive the gears inside of the head.
There you go.
Forward would be purging material, reverse would be unloading material from the nozzle. Both material and support nozzles stopped. So right now what I'm going to do, I'm going to press reverse on both to unload material. And you can see here that this material is backing up, and I can pull it out just like this.
Okay.
The next step is to stop the motors by hitting stop on the display. And you will need the 7/64s. Allen?
That's Allen wrench?
Yes.
7/64ths?
Yes.
Okay.
And at this time, to demonstrate you the full process, I'm going to take off both motors. And if you're working on soluble support side, you only need to take off one, like soluble support motor, or this, which is the modeling support. Just to let you know, the head should not stay open for longer, I would say, than 2 or 3 minutes. Because right here we have a cooling air coming up that cools these gears right here. So this heating element in the middle or in the back of the head could heat up our gears.
Oh, I see.
And the material is not going to purge at a correct rate. If you're working on the head and you had it open for more than 3 minutes, we recommend closing the door. And I have a Phillips screwdriver. Closing the door and locking just one Phillips and just give it another 3 minutes so the fan cools down our motors again.
Okay.
Yeah. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take off the soluble support servo. I'm going to show you, in case there is loss of purge on support side. There are actually 3 screws. The ones that we're going to loosen are these 2. I don't know if you can see it from here.
Yeah.
If you take a closer look, right here, there's a screw with a funnel inside of it, or in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you see a build-up material, soluble support material, you will have to use this nut driver, and you have to remove that screw. Basically turn. That it removes it. And before you put that in, you apply the anti-seize. Just a little bit on the side.
So you just put a little bit of the
Yes.
anti-seize on that screw that you just pulled out?
Yeah.
And then we're going to put it back in.
Yes, but before we do that, we're going to use the smallest Allen.
Where did they go?
Here. Oh, right.
Smallest Allen wrench.
See this? We're going to use this. We're going to put the funnel back on. Now, before you want to make sure that it's clear of any plastic. We do not recommend washing these in the tank, solvent tank. You just have to clean them using Actually, once you take it out, you'll see that this material kind of falls out, so you can actually break it by hand, or you can use, you know, any tools to kind of break it off and pull it out of the tube. But just make sure this is clean. And put the screw back in. Trim it just, you know, not too tight. Don't want it to be too tight. And before we put the motor on, because of heat expansion, we may have the soluble support back out this way. So we want to give this a little push in, about 1/4 of an inch. You may see some material coming down from the nozzle, but that's normal. We're like pushing it out so it doesn't back up.
And that's with the smallest Allen wrench you're pushing through there.
Yes.
To try to clear out anything that's stuck in there still.
And they'll be covered in the user's manual too.
Okay.
Which one to use and how to do that. Then what I do, took my 7/64s, and also before I put the motor on, I make sure there's no plastic in this area right here, and that these gears right here are clean. You can actually drive the motor forward again, and you can use brass brush to kind of gently remove any leftover material from here. If you see what I mean right here, it's much more clean. And you hit stop. By the way, I recommend using leather gloves. The reason I'm using those is because I'm used to the heat, and it's like safe for me. But to put the motor back on, there are 2 guide pins. Basically, those go into those holes right here.
Okay.
So you kind of have to align the motor like this until it goes in. Up, and we tighten the screws, both of them. Before we start working on the model side, we're going to close the head. So the cooling fan cools down the components we were working on.
So we'll wait a few minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I want to add that before you open the head, it's recommended going into maintenance machine, just like we did, and open up the head, and you'll see 2 materials coming into the head. Like, for example, this one was unloaded. So before you start troubleshooting, try a regular load on both cassettes, see how they load. If one of them does not load, do not unload this yet. Open the head, and you'll see 2 strings coming into the head. We only saw 1 today. Actually, let's go back. Let's cancel this. I'm gonna load.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just follow the... I'm gonna cancel out of this. I'm gonna take a step back. Because during my troubleshooting, they may be a little bit different from the user's manual. I usually want to see what's going on in the head before I do those loads. So I'm going to click done. And from this point, I'm just going to make sure that the other screw is secure. Okay. First, material. Unload. Unload both.
Okay.
We're going to do a full reload. It's gonna. It usually takes about 5 minutes per cassette to unload. The display shows remove support cartridge. You basically press model and support. Yeah, both of them. one thing you want to make sure is if you zoom in, this little rubber gasket, and this cassette is fine, should look like this. I had cases where this rubber is deeper or on the side, kind of jammed inside. So the brand new cassette comes with like a plastic plunger, like a piece right here that you turn and pull out. It's rare, but sometimes this gasket stays inside instead of just like this. It should look like this.
Okay.
So this one actually is ready to load. This one gonna pull out. This one is good as well. Just to let you know, each cartridge cassette is good for 20 reloads. When you buy a cassette, there is 56.3 cubic inches stored on this EEPROM. This quantity is for your models. Inside of the cassette, there is more because of this 6 feet string waist. So basically, we do not push the material in because that could loosen the spool. See? Then what I do before I load this cartridge, I pull some of material out just to make sure it doesn't have any drag inside. It should be coming out as easy as this.
Okay.
You shouldn't feel anything like dragging inside. And then I will cut this off. The system will only subtract from this 56.3 during modeling.
Okay.
It does not know that I'm pulling this out. That's why we have a lot more stored inside because of this, you know, of this checking or loading. So it's, in my opinion, it's better to cut it off at 45-degree angle. Kind of give it like a little pointy edge so when it goes into the head, it goes easier. Then another thing, what I usually do, I check the load bay. In some rare cases, you may see like maybe a little piece that had broken off and in this area. So you can still load the material, but it's going to be on the slight angle. So just before you load, just make sure all this area is clean. So I check the rubber, the gasket, and I leave about a 1/4 to 1/2 inch of material, just like this. I avoid touching this gear, because if some people use lotion, hand lotion, you don't want to have any grease on this rubber wheel. Because there is a stainless steel wheel that will drive this material out. And not only you can, you know, have a failed load on the cassette due to grease, over time grease may accumulate on that stainless steel wheel and kind of slip. But the way those were designed, they're like kind of self-cleaning mechanism. So basically you press material in, and I'm gonna get ready the other one. So you press until the cassette locks, and you do the same with model. I'm gonna cut off, or I'm gonna pull some out. Oh, actually this one was pushed back in. I noticed. It's coming, see how it's bent? Somebody actually pressed it in. I would, if I could, I would have to use a new cartridge, because over time this may get jammed inside. See? See how it's coming out? Somebody even bent it, and now it's pulling the cassette up. Could we use a new one? Because I'm not sure.
That's fine.
Yeah. Do you have them here?
It should be underneath.
Oh, in the cabinet?
Other drawer.
Basically cut the side of it. So you turn and pull. Make sure the rubber goes up. Then I pull about 3 feet. Make sure it's coming out fine. And cut off. press in. As soon as I press it in, it reads the memory on the cartridge. Then it will flash load, so you just basically press load in the display, and it's going to ask which one to load. Load both. Loads one at a time.
Oh,
What's
done now?
just happened? The machine was trying to load model, and we could hear there's a DC motor in the load bay. It was trying to load model, but it did not load into the tube inside of the print head, and we have a message: material block, remove model cartridge. So at this point, I'm gonna press.
Yeah, this is the same error that I was getting.
Yes, we're gonna unload. And as we can see, the material got to the head, but something in the head prevented it from going further. So at this point, I'm gonna leave this aside. Yep, it asks us to remove the support too, because in the same process we're loading two materials. So press to unload. I'm going to set this aside. And I'm going to press done, because I can tell now that there's some probably material inside behind the servo mechanism. So what we're going to do, we're going to hit done. And we're going to follow the same process we did before. Maintenance, machine. I'm going to need the Phillips screwdriver. We always start with the cartridge that gave us problems. So if, for example, if material loads fine and it's the support, then we're going to follow this process for just the support. But in this case, it's model, so I'm going to take off just the model servo. So I'm just going to remove this, or loosen the screws, the quarter turn, open up the head, and need the 7/64. I should have prepared it. From this angle.
Okay.
So I remove the servo motor. Now, as I'm removing it, I noticed this. I don't know if you can see it from here.
Yeah.
There's a piece of material there. And actually, I'm going to place it back, place the motor back. Actually, before I can place it, I need to, there is a, see those pieces of material inside?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was preventing the load. And also this piece right here. This piece I can actually cut off, or by removing this screw on the funnel. I can get more access. So I see that it's like in between the gears right there. I can get my needle nose, kind of pull it out from there. There's a little piece still inside, but I need to get into the full head maintenance in order to move the gears. So I'm going to place back my funnel. replace the head. In order to remove those, I would have to heat up the nozzles. I'll show you that in a moment. The screws. And now on the display, I'm going to select head. And these two temperatures are going to reach 280 degrees. So right now, what I'm going to do, since the nozzle is hot, I can actually grab that little piece and remove it from the head. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up the head. With the needle nose, we need to be careful not to catch the little funnel, stainless steel funnel. We only want to grab the material and pull it off of it. The head will be hot, so it will be easy to remove, but just be careful not to. I'm going to remove the motor. Actually, we have a little piece between the gears too, which I'll show you. So I'm going to remove the motor first. And from here, I can tell there's a little piece. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, but there's a little piece still between there. So by driving these gears forward right now, the piece is going to basically fall out. So I'm going to hit forward and see how it's coming out here. You don't want that little piece there before you load. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the brass brush and I'm going to gently brush. See that servo gear had some little pieces of material. I'm going to make sure it's clean. Then I'm going to hit stop here. I'm going to leave the motor on the side. And I'm going to take the needle nose and carefully, I'm just going to grab this material right here. Just gently pull it away. Not that much. I'm going to wait a little because I can see the material still coming out from the heat extension. So I'm going to remove this and grab the little piece just gently without touching the nozzle off. Small Allen again.
Small Allen.
Smallest from the set. I'm going to give it a little push, just a gentle push. Just like that. Just to make sure that the material is pushed in. I'm going to replace the motor.
So what most likely caused this clog was the material being put back in without being cut, and then it was a kink?
That could be true, or the material was inside of the machine for a long time.
Just a long duration. Must have been what it was.
Yeah.
So after doing a print, you recommend immediately after the print's done to remove both cartridges and...
If you don't have any prints planned scheduled for the next day, then I would, like over the weekend, I would recommend, because especially in the high humidity, like summer, I would recommend unloading and storing them in the humidity bag. That's only assuming that you don't have any climate control in their room. I know that this school's got, pretty good climate control, so you won't run into like humidity issues. So I would definitely unload it for like a spring break, a week or longer. or
And
something.
that's just to prevent the material that's already loaded from getting stuck, like what happened.
Yes, the soluble support, or there are rare occasions where your model will peel from the tray, and this could also cause this to happen. Because what happens inside of the head, the servo is trying to push material, but there's no, if the part is pressing against the bottom nozzle, there's a lot of pressure buildup, the material stops, and two things may happen. One, it can break and go to the side, and maybe that's what happened here too. You have like material go to the side of the nozzle. I see some strings, and then it will stop purging or stop building your part. Then once you get a new cassette or new material, basically what happens is, and that's what happened here. I can see on this part if you zoom in. See, I have a black material and then white material, meaning two different cassettes were used. So it probably failed to print on the black material, and we always recommend trying a different cartridge. So this was probably a brand new cartridge, but it unfortunately hit what was already broken in front of the nozzle. So by just following this, just removing the servo and just pulling the material off and then reloading cassettes, that eliminates that problem. So rule of thumb, before you start any larger builds, make sure you go into maintenance, head. I'll show you that for the maybe next video. And driving both nozzles forward to see if the material is coming out okay. Especially when the printer was maybe off for a long time, you want to make sure that both nozzles are purging before you start a build. So right now I have replaced both servos. I cleaned them, so I can hit done, click done. The head's going to go back and it's going to clean the nozzles using that brass brush. I'm going to go through its cycle of exiting from this function. Then I'm going to click done. And the head's going to go to its last position, which was loading. So I'm going to hit done to go back to the main display, and I'm going to click material. I'm going to see if this is fine.
Yeah, okay.
Model actually support, I believe. They're labeled on the side. Soluble support goes on the bottom. The model material. Quarter inch to half inch, no longer than that, because if you have something like this and you try loading the cassette, it may miss the stainless steel funnel and it may go to the side without loading, but the system is going to tell you that the filament was black, so all you need to do is pull it out and make sure it's cut right about there. The idea is to have material between this roller inside, so you can go just like that, it will be fine. And add remove is flashing, meaning that I need to press and press my cassettes in, load, and then load both on the display. Right now the head went back to finish its loading procedure, and we should see two strings coming from the bottom of the head during load. So we're going to see support first. See the string on the left? Then model will be on the right.
So that's loading it into the head?
Yes, it's actually driving that string of plastic into the liquefier tube. The liquefier is L-shaped, so it's basically coming out. and we have to, after both cassettes load, it's going to ask us, did the material load? And we're going to see that message right now. Did the material purge? So say yes. Or we can also do purge again in case it was not purging.
Okay.
So, and down on display.
Okay.
And that's the whole procedure of loading. And then you can actually go into maintenance, just to double check, machine, and then drive those gears forward just to make sure they're coming up. Head, heats up our nozzles.
It looks like there's little
Yeah, because of
support
the
hanging
heat.
out.
Yeah, because of the heat, it might be.
So are you heating it up to run it forward?
Mm-hmm. And see, at this point, I should see 2 coming up.
So the
I only
model's
have
still...
one. Yes. I'll hit stop. On rare occasions, then material may back up from the nozzle just a little bit. So what we do now is open up again. And we're going to open the head. Actually, this time we have to carefully open the head because the soluble support, the string of soluble support, as I'm opening the head, I'm pulling the soluble support so it doesn't break.
It looks like the model material
It
is
loaded.
there,
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't purged.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hit forward. There might have been some material backed up after we put the head together. So forward. And in a moment, if we don't see material coming out, it might have been that it missed the funnel, it went to the side. And I think that's what we have right now. Or no. Actually, it's purging on the bottom.
So it just took a second to get through there.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to open this in order to see it coming out from the bottom. And as you can see, the filaments are pulling the head closed.
And it's like curling up.
Oh, a little bit, yes. Yeah. Because it's hitting the soluble support, and the purge rate or density is different, so. And the head closes, just like that. Then you secure the screws. And click stop on the display. Remove material, and now it's actually fully recovered from the purge loss.